Welcome to the most important week of the year for the podcast industry. Welcome to Podcast Movement 2025.
Hi everyone, how are you? Wow, this works. Let me just say one thing before we begin. Please don't start the timer yet. We're a little nervous, and I think that's okay. Yeah, thanks. Thank you. Okay, we are here. Thank you so much. EB, would you like to come up to the stage, please? Thank you. Yay. All right. We are here today to talk about the best podcast growth tips, and it's going to be the rapid fire edition. So we're going to go through it quickly, and hopefully we're going to give you a lot of really great information to take home and try out. I need a clicker. I'm nervous, you know? All right.
Welcome to summer camp. Woo! We met at Podcast Movement years ago. We became really good friends. We've been working together ever since. We look forward to Podcast Movement, like we count down the days. It is our summer camp, and so we just hope you all are having like half as much fun as we are, and we can't tell you how excited we are to be like on this stage.
We are going to be your camp counselors for the next, 18 minutes or so. And with that, we have a few tips for how to thrive here at Podcast Movement.
Okay, so everybody here, approach someone you don't know at some point, go to all the networking parties, and also please find us and recommend a podcast you love to us, preferably one that is not your own. If you give me a podcast recommendation that is not your own, I will give you a very ugly pen. It's hideous. And I will put it in my newsletter, podcast newsletter on Monday.
And everybody, they finally let us keynote.
I can't believe it. Woo!
Quickly, who are we? I will introduce Lauren, and then Lauren will introduce me. But first, these are the pens, V1, that Lauren makes, and they're even better. So you definitely want to give Lauren a podcast recommendation. Lauren Passell is the founder of Tink Media, a podcast marketing and growth agency. She also writes Podcast the Newsletter, which comes out every Monday. And she also created Podcast Marketing Magic, which comes out on Fridays. All of those resources are free, so that's really cool.
And this is Arielle Nissenblatt, my partner in podcast enthusiasm. And also the founder of EarBuds. EarBuds is an amazing newsletter that you can contribute to and be featured in, and you should absolutely subscribe to EarBuds right now. And also works for Pinwheel and does a zillion other things, as you know.
Here's the agenda for the next, 17 minutes at this point. We're going to talk about the format because we're doing something a little bit differently here today once we really get into it. Then we'll go through those rapid fire tips, and then hopefully we will have some time at the end for questions. It's going to be a little chaotic, like I said, because we're trying something out.
And we are chaotic.
And we are also chaotic.
And the faster we go, the more time there will be for questions.
Yeah, question mark?
Question mark?
All right, so how is this going to work? Each tip that we're going to give you, we're giving ourselves 45 seconds to give it. And in a moment, you'll find out why and how that's going to be kept. And then the other person is going to have 20 seconds to either rebut that statement or yes and it. And then we'll move on to the next tip.
And I want to say real quick, it was hard for us to pick like our favorite tips because there's so many that we talk about all the time. So these are like our favorites and even harder to go down to 45 seconds. So we're going to do our best.
We would like to welcome EB Moss to the stage. Come on down. We'd love for you to have a seat so that you don't, unless you want to stand, up to you. Perfect. You can decide. You can decide.
Power here.
Evie is the host of Insider Interviews, and you can check out her show right there. There's the website, and at the end, we'll have more information. And with that, let's get to some rapid-fire podcast growth tips. Can I get a yay? Tip number 1.
Pre-pitch before you pitch. Okay, I'm all about pitching, and when I say pitching, I mean a pitch is if I'm pitching Arielle to go to my favorite restaurant. It is if I'm pitching to have a client on a podcast for an interview. I'm pitching any sort of relationship, a promo swap, absolutely any sort of partnership. But you want to make a connection with someone before you have to ask something from them, right? A warm pitch is better than a cold pitch. So you being here, connecting with someone here, that's an example of a pre-pitch. Follow someone, send them an email saying you admire their work. Reach out to them in any way. I always say, if you tell me you like my dress, I will do anything for you. Like, we're all humans. Like, that means a lot. That means a lot.
That means a lot. My favorite way to pre-pitch when I am hoping to be a guest on a podcast or to get a client as a guest on a podcast is to email that podcast ahead of time and say something like, hey, I listened to your show, I really like this interview with X, Y, and Z, and I'm wondering if you're open to pitches, because they probably are, but it's nice to ask. We have not had any problems yet.
You came in under.
Perfect.
Okay.
Tip number 2, I talk about this all the time, so if you've seen me speak on this, here's more information on it. I would like for you to cut out the word competitors from your vocabulary. Try instead to see them as potential collaborators, and they are your podcast friends. And what I mean by this, thank you.
Podcast friends.
What I mean by this is you're gonna have people in this audience even that have podcasts that are similar to your own. Maybe they use similar keywords. Maybe they even have some of the same guests as you. That's okay. I really encourage you to find them, to reach out to them, to figure out how you might be able to work together. Maybe it's you becoming a guest on their show. Maybe it's them being a guest on your show. Maybe it's setting up promo swaps or other types of ways that you can reach each other's audience. Over time, you can innovate upon, all right. She's gonna yes and me, I love that.
If you see someone that you are getting competitor vibes, I would say, actually that should be someone you absolutely should be working with. I was on stage one time and someone said, why would I do a promo swap and send someone else to another show? I said, I think you're in the wrong industry, sir, because that's what this is all about. Also, Arielle and I do very similar things. We help each other build and grow all the time. We become great friends. We're an example of this. Podcast friendship is what everything, this growth is all about.
Ooh. Tip number 3.
It is hard to convert a non-listener to a listener. Have you ever tried to do this? Have you ever tried to get a non-listener to listen to your podcast? Non-listeners identify strongly as non-listeners.
I don't listen to podcasts.
Yeah, cool. And I don't worry too much about those people. I mean, you have to be like, okay, here's an app you have to download, and by the way, hope you have time to carve out in your morning routine to listen to, no, I don't worry about that as much. It's not impossible, but it's an extra step, right? Podcast listeners they're very likely to listen to another podcast. Make that podcast be yours. They're also harder to find out where they are, so you can speak their language. Worry about those people first. Go to the podcast apps. Pitch your show to podcast apps. That's why we worry about promo swaps. That's why we work with our podcast friends.
Whistle. She got the whistle. She got the whistle. And for that, I'm just going to say I co-sign no, yes, and or rebuts.
Oh,
Tip number 4.
nailed it.
Tip number 4, social media isn't everything when it comes to promotion. It is really hard to convert scrollers. I'm going to focus on the second half of that first. When you get home at the end of the day, I wonder what it is that you're doing. And often for me, it is just sitting down on the couch and scrolling. And I'm not really looking to change up that attitude or that behavior. I really just want to scroll, and maybe later I'm going to get up and do something, but that is my time to scroll and catch up on the day. I'm not really looking for a podcast recommendation. I might be influenced by something that I see, and I might take that into account when I decide later that I want to listen to a podcast. But the point of this is that it is supposed to take the weight off of your shoulders in thinking that if you post the perfect thing at the perfect time.
I just don't want people thinking that they're posting on social media that they're doing marketing. Marketing takes work where you're like doing like research and going out to other places. It's good for the people that are already following you, but you're not actually like marketing. They're separate things. They're both important separate things. Woo!
Okay. Tip number 5.
Borrowing audiences is what works. If this presentation was one sentence long, this is what I would focus on. Borrowing audience is what works. So that means finding your podcast friends, and at Tink we find the podcast friends. That means investing a lot of time in finding out what that audience is, because finding the perfect audience is important, and spending a lot of time trying to figure out where that is important. So finding your podcast friends, and then this is going to sound corny, but you put them up on a podcast play date. What is the partnership? Who is the partner, and what is the partnership? Is it a promo swap? Is it a feed swap? Are you putting an episode of each other's shows on each other's feeds? Are you doing a 30-second promo? Are you doing a guest swap? Are Arielle and I having one conversation and splitting it in two, and one half is going on her feed and one half is going on my feed? How do you get in front of that audience that you have identified as your podcast friends? Oh.
Borrowing audience is what works. You are a person who has many different interests, so it is very likely that if you like open water swimming, you probably like, thank you for understanding, you probably like other podcasts about fitness. So think about those shows and how to get in front of them as well. You need a trailer for your podcast. Yes, this is self-serving. I have a podcast about podcast trailers called Trailer Park, the Podcast Trailer Podcast. I really do believe, though, that you need trailers. You need a trailer. And that trailer can be updated as time goes on, as things change. We're not going to talk about that right now because I only have 45 seconds. And also, there's no wrong and no right when it comes to that.
20 seconds.
Okay, you need a trailer for your podcast. I'm going to give you one reason, and then for the rest of them, you can come talk to me after. One reason you need a trailer for your podcast is because you can populate your feed before you're ready to start dropping full episodes. And that way, you can start sending people to your podcast to get those ratings and reviews and other things.
I am going to use my 20 seconds to give 2 good trailers you can go listen to. I think Amy Poehler's Good Hang, no surprise here, is an amazing trailer. She's doing a lot right. That's a great one. But also I want to shout out, there's a podcast called Debt Heads, not Deadheads, D-E-B-T Heads, Debt Heads. It has a fantastic trailer. It's a show about money. I hate hearing about money and thinking about money. It's so good, it makes me want to hear about money. Debt Heads. Go listen to the trailer and the entire show. Ooh.
Tip number 7.
Think like a producer when approaching other shows for collaborations and guesting opportunities. This is like my favorite tip of all time. Okay, when I'm pitching, I was talking about pitching before. I always tell my team, you want to put your producer hat on. This is why it helps to be a listener. This is why we do not use AI in any of our pitches, and why I tell my teams, take it 20 minutes at least to write a pitch letter. If it's less than 20 minutes, you're losing, because it takes at least 20 minutes to come up with a vision for the pitch you're making, whether you're pitching yourself to be a guest or whatever. You need to come up with a vision. Every letter should have its own vision. And then you have to convince who you're writing to share in that vision. Invite yourself into the production room. What does the producer want? Don't think about what you want. How does the producer think when they are crafting an episode? What does the host want? Is there a segment that you could easily fit into?
And I will use this to yes and say one of my favorite ways to think like a producer is when I am emailing somebody about a possible guesting opportunity, I use the format of their episode titles in order to say this is what the episode might look like, it might sound like, and here's what I would like to do if I am a guest on your show. Tip number 8, make a big deal out of seemingly small things, aka make mountains out of molehills. What do I mean by this? Maybe you're featured in the New York Times, that's awesome. Obviously, you're gonna shout it from the rooftops. You should also be shouting from the rooftops, getting featured in your alumni magazine, or getting a rating and review, screenshotting that, making it look nice in Canva or Adobe Express or whatever you use, posting that on social media, and then making sure that people are seeing you every time that they hop onto the social media platform of their choice. And this is actually usually from your personal social media. You want to show people that you are really active and that you are doing a lot with your podcast, and that we are just like really excited to be making this thing and hopefully having it find new audiences.
I would also say if pitching yourself to newsletters is also a great growth tip. And if you're pitching yourself to newsletters like our newsletters, thank the newsletter writers, thank the people that are writing about you, make a big shout out about that kind of stuff, because that is also appreciated and also gets you extra attention.
Tip number 9.
Social media is great for engaging the audience you have, less so for finding the audience that you want. There's a lot of reasons. I could talk about this for an hour, but social media is, the algorithms don't want you to leave the algorithms. As Arielle mentioned before, scrollers don't want to leave. However, I think this industry has been focused on download numbers a lot and not as much as engagement, and engagement is really, really important. Engaged listeners are the listeners that are going to buy your merch. They're going to go to your events. They're going to tell your friends about you. And by the way, someone telling their friend about you is the best way to get somebody to actually listen to your podcast. So those engaged listeners are important. It's separate though, right? We want to nourish the engaged listeners. Also, you can learn from your social media followers, but the audience that you want, you actually have to do real work, and that takes marketing to find those people.
And I will add to this that I believe social media, there are going to be people in this crowd right here that say, my social media does really well and it actually does help grow my podcast. Of course, that's going to be the case, but this is a tip to help you if you are somebody who is struggling with social media, to say, you know what, I'm going to keep doing it because it's important to be active there, but I'm not going to think of it anymore as something that's going to grow my show. Tip number 10.
It's not just about download numbers. I was talking about this before. Other metrics matter too, and possibly more. Especially if you don't have tons and tons of download numbers, it's okay. I think it's exciting. Look at the other numbers you have. What is the listen through rate? Are you growing in your younger demographics? That's something to brag about. That means that you have a lot of future in your show. I love it when I talk to people that have interview podcasts. Do you have consistency in all of your episodes, or are people tuning in depending on who the guest is? Because if you have consistent numbers, that means people are tuning in for you. This is when you can talk about your social media numbers, your newsletter numbers. I think telling a fuller story with your numbers is a way to go to potential sponsors, people that you want to work with. What if there's a show that you want to get a feed drop on that's bigger than yours? Tell a big story about your numbers. Brag.
Penalty.
Ooh!
I
screaming.
wholeheartedly agree with this, and I'm going to move on to the next one so that hopefully we have time for questions. The last one that we have, everybody, tip number 11,
listen to podcasts. And the
what we mean
reason
by
it's
this
so
is that
important
ultimately
is
there
that
should be
you
a way
need
for
to
you
be
to
a listener. You have to listen to at least 7 hours
We get
a
excited
day.
about that one,
Okay.
but Lauren, would you like to take it?
I'll go first. Arielle and I got into this industry as listeners first. We were just like fans first. And I think that's one reason that we're good at what we do, because we love it. And we enter everything with our listener mindset on first. And it doesn't really hurt that we love our everyday getting out of bed and working with all of you and being here. And I think that it just becomes very organic that way.
Yes. I will yes and this and say that if it's hard for you to add lots of podcasts to your day because you already consume so much other media,
quit your full-time job.
Please also at least consider going to your podcast category on Spotify and Apple regularly, checking out what is being featured, checking out what is trending, listening to those things and responding to those podcasts. Think about what it is that they're talking about, and do you agree with that? Do you disagree with that? And that's a really great way for you to stay in the know without really having to, maybe it's just like a concrete thing you can try out. And tips 12 through question mark. We have a lot of tips. Like we said, we really...
No mics on cover art, please.
We're not going to go through all of these, so please screenshot them. We have more, so if you're interested in hearing from us, we would love to hear from you. Thank you, EB. Woo! Check out EB's podcast, Insider Interviews. You can scan the code now. She is a legend, and we were so glad to have her here. And we would love to know if you have any questions. In the meantime, while we're getting some hands raised, if you have any questions for us, there was definitely one back there that I'm happy to take. We are going to say thank you to Podcast Movement.
Thank you for
We want to give you our contact information. And we also want to shout out, and I'll go back to that slide in a moment. We want to shout out some of the people who applied to be in EB's position. We had a bunch of people who filled out a form in order to become the referee, and we wanted to just shout them out here, so thank you. And we also are going to go back now and hopefully answer some questions.
Right over here.
If you have a weekly show, how often should your host be posting on social media?
I love this one.
Go.
There's no strict number for that.
That's not what she wanted to hear.
I know. Okay, there's no strict number for that. Are you the host or somebody else is? It really depends, first and foremost, how much of their time you have and how much you can ask of them. But I guess, at minimum, can they post that? Can they post that the episode is live? And I really think that they should be making sure to not just say new episode out now. There should be a reason that they're posting that will hopefully attract somebody to the show other than like, yay, new novelty.
The rule is 7 times per week you have to see something to catch on. But what I would say, I would prefer one that was so good and compelling. Maybe the host, it's like the camera to their face and just saying, I just recorded this great episode, I have to tell you about it. Stripped down, natural, one really, really good one. That's what I would prefer.
Yeah.
So I think it depends on how much time they have, how much they hate social media or love social media. There's no wrong answer. Sorry.
Thank you, ladies, for your enthusiasm. Good afternoon. I'm John Mazzarina. Question in regards to social media platforms. Do you recommend limiting to 2, 3, Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, or put your energy in just 2 specific that you're passionate for?
I think you need to find the ones you don't mind as much, and also think about your audience. Certain shows are going to be better on LinkedIn. Maybe you need to be committed to your Discord or something like that.
But finding out first if your listeners want to be on a Discord.
And also maybe surveying. We didn't talk enough about surveying because we only had 20 minutes.
Give us more time next time,
Yeah,
Brian Barletta.
please. But find out where they are, what they like, where they like to be, and then don't worry about being on all of them.
And I just want to add, I mentioned this on Monday in our conversation, but I think it's important for you to grab handles in all of the different social platforms so that nobody else takes your handle. Populate it by saying, I'm not super active here, but you can reach me at these different places. And do we have time for one more?
So I have a show that I only put out a season about once a year. It's a reported, produced narrative show. So what should I do in between the new seasons to keep people engaged and to maybe find new listeners without new content?
On the count of 3, we're going to answer you in 2 words, hopefully. 1, 2, 3.
Feed warmers. Okay,
Yes. What's a
so
feed warmer? I was really hoping that she. Okay.
Okay, there's a lot of things you can do, but we do this thing called feed warmer campaigns where you're going out and finding episodes of other shows that your audience might like, okay? This takes a lot of work. Make sure it's correct and that your audience would absolutely love it. Drop those in your feed in the meantime, okay? With a little bit of editorializing from you preferably. But then so go to these shows and be like, I would love to have this file and put it on my feed. In return, would you put this episode of my show onto your feed? Your audience will really like it. You have to do the work, curating, figuring out which audience will like which. And remember, it's not an ask. You're helping both shows. But this is a way that you're both giving yourself content, providing the other person with content, and warming your feed throughout the year.
That's the Feed Warmer campaign. And that's our time. Thank you so much for having us, Podcast Movement.